from predicting the downfall of the most controversial podcast on the internet.
It just feels so corporate and soulless. It just feels really inauthentic and artificial.
To outsmarting an evil company that steals from its creators.
Even if I have to film butt-ass naked in a back alley, you guys are getting an episode, goddammit.
These are the unbelievable times when YouTubers were right all along. Starting with the YouTube OG, PewDiePie, who on January 3rd, 2017, would abandon his usual content to voice his concerns about a then 5-year-old Ryan Kaji.
I would love, when I was a kid, to open a bunch of toys. But at the same time, it's like, it's something off about it. It's kind of like seeing child stars on television, because you know, like, their parents are literally forcing them to do it. And it's just something sad about it. And I can't help but getting the same vibe. You know, obviously I don't know what goes on, but I watch it and I'm like, ugh.
To prove his point, PewDiePie would then expose a surprising red flag almost everyone missed in one of Ryan's videos.
Who will you hatch?
See, she doesn't even let him finish. He was clearly about to say something there.
Who will you hatch?
Look at him.
And we even found a
No, you don't matter, because I matter! Shut the f up!
Right before the video ended, PewDiePie would leave his viewers with a very disturbing question.
Are we celebrating this? Are we celebrating the fact that this mother is like, you think he's getting any money of this? Do you think he's getting the toys?
But since PewDiePie was a 27-year-old reacting to a 5-year-old's content, the backlash was immediate.
PewDiePie, why are you making a video against a child? Why is a child Tupac to your Biggie? Come on, PewDiePie, you're at the top. You should be supporting new YouTubers, not bashing them.
However, years later, fans would notice that despite being a teen, Ryan was still making the same kids' content for 5-year-olds.
Is there a consequence?
It's gonna happen.
Goodbye, Ryan. What is that?
That's why you cannot lie.
But things were about to get much worse when, during a 2024 interview, viewers began to suspect he was a prisoner trapped in a billion-dollar empire after he spoke about the fun he used to have, like it was something he no longer got to experience.
Do you ever tell your parents, like, no, I want to be in more videos, I want to do more?
I think when I was a kid, I had lots of fun doing the videos, like, with my sisters and with my parents, because, like, it's just really engaging and fun for me. And I loved, like, making the videos because I got to, like, play with the toys and talk to camera, play with my sisters. It's just really fun throughout the whole video.
And they would also notice how his dad hijacked the conversation every time he got asked a question.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
When I grow up, I want to be like an animator. I think it's really fun to do because, like, the drawing, and then, like, at the end you get to see the whole thing and see what you've like.
Yeah, you were in the front line seeing the each process of animation in a way, because first, before we started working on animation, we get the script, right? And then you read through.
But what really grabbed everyone's attention was how his dad never took his eyes off him every time the interviewer asked him a question.
Do you ever feel any pressure?
Not a lot. Not usually.
Naturally, the internet was not happy. I feel like in 20 years we will see a Netflix doc about how his parents robbed him blind, pushed him for more and more content, and he becomes an addict and loses everything. I always watched him as a little kid. I was always jealous of what he did and the challenges. But now I'm grateful I'm just a normal kid. But while PewDiePie predictions turned out to be more than accurate, Tanamong Joe's warning would hit harder after revealing a dark truth no one wanted to believe. In 2024, YouTube's most notorious party girl, Tana Mojo, would host a live episode where her answer to a particular question left everyone deeply disturbed.
Who's the smallest you've ever had sex with?
Oh my God, no one look at me, Cody Ko. I can say that. I was literally 17, I can say that.
Just as you'd expect, this generated a lot of uproar, forcing Tana to address the controversy on her podcast a few days later.
I hooked up with Cody Ko when I was 17 and he was 25. This isn't just some crazy tea. It was a crime.
But since Tana was no stranger to controversy, like racism, exploitation, and a reputation for lying and heavily embellishing her content, the internet was divided. That is, until YouTuber D'Angelo Wallace uploaded a video calling out Cody Ko for his predatory behavior.
Alright, Cody, let's have an uncomfortable conversation. Someone has been alleging for years now that you, one of the largest commentary creators on YouTube, knowingly committed a crime against her when she was a minor. The answer to why any of us should care is that a person has tried to come forward about her experience and has been met with the most vitriolic victim blaming I've seen in years. She's been dismissed, discredited, and disbelieved before anybody ever gave her a chance. Because it's Tana, which sets a horrible precedent that if a person runs out of goodwill, they lose the right to come forward with their experiences.
D'Angelo would then uncover some long-buried evidence from a fellow YouTuber that suggests Tana might have been telling the truth all along.
One time, I told a guy, I saw him making out with a girl at a party who was underage, and I pulled him aside and I was like, hey man, you probably don't know, I know she like looks a little older, she's underage. Watch it. And he's like, oh my God, thank you for telling me. And then he turned that.
Including another disturbing video she had made back in 2021.
I was 17 at the time, 18. I started kind of hooking up with other people. Shout out JC Kalen, shout out Cody Ko.
And before ending the video, the YouTuber would then call out other creators for their hypocrisy.
I haven't seen a single channel over 1 million subscribers do so much as acknowledge that this situation exists. And I'm not talking about channels that never would have discussed something like this either. I mean the same channels that were rightfully calling out people like Dr. Disrespect for texting a minor, which are the same channels that are now completely ignoring a scenario with an even bigger creator being accused of doing something much worse.
But D'Angelo wasn't the only one digging, as the situation soon caught Charlie's attention.
Like in this case right here, you'll have some drooling, stinky, bumbling morons in the comments saying how it's not a big deal because 17 shouldn't be an issue. You know, like, age of consent over in this region is actually 16, so really, he waited till she was old. Like, it's craziness. It's actually craziness. It is a crime. It is a minor. Still, it's bad. Like, I don't know why that needs to be explained all of a sudden.
Instead of addressing the claims, however, Cody would completely disappear, only to resurface 6 months later with a flimsy, half-baked apology.
Obviously, I understand I've been offline for months, haven't made videos for, that whole time. And I also understand if your opinion of me has potentially changed over the last few months. I spent the first half of my career criticizing people and judging people online, so, I don't begrudge your judgment of me.
But this only made things much worse. All we needed was a straight admission and apology like, yes, I did that. No, it wasn't right and I shouldn't have done it. I can't go back and change it, but I can strive to understand why it wasn't morally right. Instead, we got this. His new name should be Cowardly Ko at this rate after this terrible apology. Ultimately, Cody was forced to step down from his role at TMG Studios, a podcast he co-founded, and has since lost most of his die-hard followers. But while Tana finally got support after calling out and exposing a much older man, Ray William Johnson would face backlash for calling out a shady corporation. Back in the early 2011, nearly all major YouTubers were signed to a YouTube network called Maker Studios, one of the biggest players at the time. However, on December 11th, 2012, its biggest signee, Ray William Johnson, made some shocking allegations against the company and its exploitative practices that were bleeding creators dry. They wanted 40% of my YouTube channel's AdSense revenue after production costs, and more importantly, they wanted 50% of the shows in perpetuity. Let me clarify. They wanted %50 for the rest of eternity, and weren't offering much in return. As if demanding a bigger cut of the revenue wasn't bad enough, Ray would then reveal that after he refused the new terms, they threatened to shut down his project. When I politely refused their deal, as it was not in my best interest, they became increasingly aggressive. Negotiations quickly became a bizarre pissing contest between the heads at Maker Studio and myself. I wouldn't hand over my intellectual property, and they wouldn't stop aggressively trying to get me to sign it over to them. And much later, Ray claimed that even though his contracts had expired, Maker Studios was refusing to give him back his AdSense money. Frustrated and left with no choice, Ray announced that he'd left the company.
Now, in the near future, Equals 3 will no longer be part of the Maker Studios network, so I'm gonna film here for a while. Even if I don't have the proper equipment at home, you know what? Even if I have to film butt-ass naked in a back alley, you guys are getting an episode, goddammit.
But any excitement over his departure would quickly fade when Ray revealed that he'd gotten a threatening message from Maker Studios' CEO, which read, Your lack of integrity and character are sad. Q. Prepare for war, bitch. Forcing a response from YouTubers like Shane Dawson, Maker Studios' original golden boy. I got the same text 3 years ago. And even Philip DeFranco, another OG member of Maker Studio crew, spoke out. There's a theme here. But despite Ray's warnings, many of your favorite creators such as PewDiePie, Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, and many more would join just 2 years later after Ray spoke out against them. Luckily, it would later be exposed for locking creators into predatory contracts and taking a significant part of their revenue. With Ray Williams' claims later confirmed, the internet was disappointed, but no one was more annoyed than Charlie.
And then Maker came along and said, hey, we'll offer you this contract. It was a 60-40 split, and at the time that sounded great to me. I've never had any way of contacting Maker. Their support line does absolutely fucking nothing. And if you don't have your channel manager there to be that bridge, then you just have no way of getting in touch with Maker. It would sometimes take up to 3 months to get one check from Maker. It was last year when my channel got disabled due to false copyright strikes. I could not contact Maker no matter what. I did everything possible to get in contact with him. A contract shouldn't auto-renew. You should have to sign off on it each time it tries to renew. Maker Studios is just so lazy, so unorganized, and just doesn't give a f*** about any of the people in their network.
In the end, Ray William Johnson earned the respect of the internet, much like Charlie, whose take on the Talk To a podcast turned out to be spot on. 5 days after the explosive launch of Haley Welch's podcast, Talk To a, Charlie would make a shocking prediction.
It just feels so corporate and soulless. It just feels really inauthentic and artificial. You know, it all just feels so forced. But I just really think the best path is to just separate from the meme a little bit. Like, hey, you know, this was my lightning rod. I know you guys know me as the Hawk2a girl, but, you know, I'm just kind of hanging out here. I started a podcast if you want to check it out. And just have it be more organic, as opposed to just like wrapping everything around the meme. Because it just feels so inorganic. It really does feel like an industry plant situation to a certain extent.
But his main prediction was on how it would all flop, because she'd have nothing to offer in her podcasts.
Look, I'm not a chef in the kitchen, but I can speculate on the menu. They're gonna be serving up nothing burgers with those conversations. Just a hunch.
Despite the widespread doubt, Haley Welch would drop the first episode just days later.
Come on, Haley, it's not that bad.
All right, it's time to get out of the bed and quit rotting.
Haley, get up.
All right, I'm ready to talk. So we'll be talking about all the crazy stuff that's happened since I got into this mess, and the stuff that me and Chelsea like to do before all this happened. And I want you guys to get to know me better than Hawk2a.
And it didn't take the audience long to make their feelings clear. I am an 89-year-old gay Holocaust survivor, and after listening to the Talk To a podcast, I managed to overcome my past trauma. Thank you, Miss Hawk. But despite this, Haley only doubled down, a move that only attracted more negative reaction. But things took a drastic turn when Haley would announce her plans to launch a new meme coin, despite warnings from guests like Mark Cuban.
Oh yeah, if I launch a meme coin, can I give you some tokens?
Are you sure you're gonna launch? I don't know. I'm not a big fan about meme coins. I love crypto, but you can make some money from it. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Haley went ahead anyway and launched a new meme coin called Hawk.
My Hawk meme coin is live!
However, shortly after its launch, things went south after it was exposed by investigative journalist CoffeeZilla as a complete scam.
Who makes the money on the fees? Someone just made over $1 million on fees. Who made it?
The creator, right?
Which is who? Who does that own? Who does that belong to?
That belongs to the project.
Who's the project? Who is the project?
Well, the project is over here, Haley Welch.
The scandal not only devastated investors, but also shattered Haley's credibility. Haley then disappeared, only to reappear a month later. But despite her weak attempts to generate public sympathy,
And all the people that actually watch my stuff and they keep up with me, we're trying to sort out all the pieces and stuff to like get all this figured out.
fans were not buying it. I think she's reading off a script here too. But what truly caused her downfall was when, after the controversy, she delivered one of the most boring podcasts with KSI, where she hoped his presence alone would be enough to make a good podcast.
Yeah, I think it's better if I'm alive and healthy. Health is the most important thing. You know, more than money, more than family, etc.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you want to be there for your family, you gotta be healthy. So,
Gotta be good.
yeah.
You ever think I could box?
Would you want a box?
I actually do want to box.
Really?
You gotta give her some tips. Yeah, I need some tips. Or you can just train me.
Who would you want to fight?
When the guest has to carry the conversation on a podcast, you know it's cooked. proving Charlie's initial hunch of serving up nothing burgers. In the end, despite all her attempts to revive her podcast, views have dropped significantly, and she now only gets a fraction of what she used to get. But while Charlie's warning about a disastrous podcast turned out to be true, CoffeeZilla's expose was the result of something far more controversial. In 2021, finance YouTuber Graham Stefan would surprise his fans with an unexpected announcement.
I decided to invest an undisclosed amount, and now I can officially say I am a small owner in Yada Bank.
But as it turns out, Graham wasn't the only YouTuber who was promoting Yada.
Today we're talking about a bank promoted by YouTubers that's now become a casino and users can't get their money out.
Lotteries are predatory. They play on our psychology to suck us dry of our hard-earned money. But what if lottery psychology could be used for good? What if lottery psychology could be used to incentivize you to save money and build wealth instead of keeping you poor? Well, that's where Yada comes in. A savings account that pays you interest and prizes, giving you a chance to win $10 million every single week.
But despite all the promises it offered, on August 5th, 2022, CoffeeZilla would pull back the curtain, revealing that things weren't as they seemed, something YouTubers like Jake were already aware of.
Like, for example, he'll tell you that lotteries are predatory. But then, in that same video, he'll sell you a, quote, no-lose lottery.
Play the no-lose lottery by pausing the video and clicking the link below.
And 2 years later, he dropped another expose on Yada and its investors, only this time, it was far worse.
I mean, it means everything to me. I wasn't able to pay rent for this month. I wasn't able to pay my bills.
I quit my job. I quit my career to go into business for my family, and my savings is my my safety net for doing that, for making such a crazy decision. So it means a lot.
We really have no safety net. I mean, even if that money's not gone, it's gone for us for now.
Till today, so many investors fell for Yada despite CoffeeZilla's warnings and are yet to get their money back. But while CoffeeZilla warned everyone of what was to come after investing in a sketchy bank, Greg Doucette would expose a fitness influencer who was deceiving his own viewers for profit. In November 2021, Greg Doucette shared his thoughts on the Liver King, natty or not controversy.
I don't think he's natural. Don't believe that. And for all the haters, I want to be clear. I believe that there's more than a 50% chance that he's on PEDs. So if I was forced to choose, I'm saying not natural.
But since Greg had no concrete evidence and the Liver King had always promoted a natural lifestyle, he immediately denied it.
There's a lot of subprimals that are convinced that Liver King is taking steroids. I'll say this. Do you think if I was on steroids, I would have these fucking appendages down here? So this is what I say to people that make this accusation. If you don't believe this is possible, then I suggest that you take that self-limiting belief, you put that shit in a fucking box and you bury that next to all your embarrassing shit.
But it all turned out to be a lie because just a year later, another YouTuber, More Plates, More Dates, came out with shocking evidence, revealing years of steroid use.
But as I've reached my mid-40s, it's getting harder and the back fat fucking kills me. To support these exhaustive efforts, I've recently started taking Omnitrope,
which would catch the attention of YouTubers like Charlie.
The problem that I have here, as well as many other people, is that he's selling a lie.
In the wake of the backlash, Liver King would release a not-so-convincing apology.
Primals, I'm making this video to apologize. Because I fucked up. Because I'm embarrassed and ashamed. Because I lied and I misled a lot of people. I've stated that this is a complicated as fuck topic, at least to me it is, because before social media, I was rich and anonymous, and after social media, I'm still rich, but no longer anonymous, and I never expected this kind of exposure in the public eye.
Which only earned him more mockery.
Hey Derek, you know how I got so jacked?
How?
I followed the 9 ancestral tenets.
Liver King! Oh, so strong. Liver likes, that's what you are. Another fitness influencer lying. How about that?
Since then, his reputation in the fitness world has taken a major hit. And despite his attempts to make a comeback, many still see him as the guy who built his empire on a lie, making it yet another one of those situations where a YouTuber tried to warn us, but we didn't listen.